if I can drop any of this gear.
Hey, welcome in, folks. This is Babbage and Air. We're back in Long Dark, currently hanging out in Timberwolf Mountain, getting ready for a fine climbing day. That is the plan. We're going to... let's see.
Can you eat trees?
Actually, I guess we're not climbing yet. Don't climb yet because we are going to Ash Canyon, and then... Yeah. So this actually will require a double visit to Timberwolf Mountain, now I think about it, but we're gambling. Hopefully it works out. So we still have, how many days? We're day 44. Even 48. We have 4 days left. Yep. Can't afford to lose our well-fed. That would be bad. We probably should go hunting now. And the truth is, we really don't need much here. Can't really do much about this right now. Or even that. Hacksaw is useful. We already left our pry bar behind. Oh, it suddenly got windy out there. Oh, that's bad. Let's see, what can we do here? Well, I think we do a little preparation. Hey, Bloody Cactus, good to see you. Let's throw a shout out for you here.
Wow.
Station serving the San Cristobal Medical Facility and Sequence Synthetics.
No. Oh.
Okay.
I need to find food.
Yeah. So, how's your weekend? Going well?
I've never been so hungry in my life.
Okay, we are at 19 arrows. Yeah, very nice. Let's see here. This looks pretty nice outside. Go with the bag lens here. Not too bad, huh? We had a pretty rainy day yesterday and today. Spent a lot of time experimenting with what used to be
Okay, that didn't work.
Notebook LM, which is now Gemini Notebook, as a way of organizing my D&D notes and world building notes across several different campaigns over the years. I've built up this homebrew setting,
Come on,
and
little fire.
I was like thinking it might be nice to have a way to just be able to query it directly, because I'll do all these different write-ups about different things over the years, and they fill in all sorts of different gaps, but they're not all in the same campaign. And so in my mind, they're kind of all there, but after a while, it gets a little tricky to remember everything. So to ensure a little bit of internal consistency, I thought it might be. Well, actually, we didn't need to dump all that stuff in there. Well, I guess we can warm up some teas. So that's been surprisingly successful. Although it did reveal to me that there are certain campaigns where I and neither my players nor myself kept adequate records of the sessions. So session recaps were lacking. Like after the first three sessions, they just don't exist. And I'm kind of sad about that, because that happens to be for both of the campaigns I ran when I was at UBC, which were pretty epic. In fact, I would say some of the best D&D I've run. And in the end, I have like a scattering of notes, but I really wish I had the session recaps to kind of walk through the entirety of the campaign, but I don't. And that just makes me sad that it didn't happen. So it's been too long to like recreate it. I can go back through my notes of what I do have and, you know, fill out some of, like, ensure some of those details are preserved, but yeah, there's a lot of gaps. Open Notebook. Is Open Notebook the Open AI version of it? But I do find it funny that, you know, as I was thinking about use cases for Notebook LM, now, you know, Gemini Notebook, kind of as part of my job, you know, thinking about, like, well, what happens when we get academic researchers that are wondering what kind of tools would be appropriate and which ones would not be appropriate for the type of research consolidation or synthesis that they're trying to do. How do you avoid, you know, things that are fabricated or hallucinated, or like pull in material that you don't have authorization to use, or you cannot confirm the provenance, so you really don't want it in there. And so, you know, obviously these are like good use cases for this type of notebook structure. But the one that came to mind first was, you know, I got all these D&D session recaps and world building notes over the years. Maybe I could turn them into a knowledge base that I could use to answer questions for myself and for my players. Oh, you run it local and keep the data local. I've been wondering about that. I mean, I think it's cool to have like Gemini Notebook, but even better for me would be if I had a local, entirely local version. So yeah, I think I should look into that. That would be helpful. Yeah, initially the only sources I was including were like Google Docs of my various campaign information, and the session recaps were like, I have all the recaps for the original campaign I ran in this homebrew setting, which ran for 72 sessions. And I have recaps for all of that. So there's a lot of world building in that. Plus, I have all the supporting documentation that I created for that as well. And then I had the recaps for like a few later campaigns that were set in different parts of the world, but some of them, well, not world, but different parts of the continent that come back. And some of them intersect with like the main city again.
Because I really do.
And so, yeah, so I've been able to do that. It's been kind of fun. It also, what's nice about it is it exposes where the gaps are. You know, it'll tell me if something is missing. Like they say, like, presume, like, that this particular NPC is presumed to be human, and I realized, oh, I never did specify that in the notes. So. Yeah, well, I'll look and see. Yeah.
Damn, I'm freezing.
But yeah, one of the things I've had to do is make profiles for all the NPCs in particular cities based on the documents that it has available. And that is kind of cool. I mean, it doesn't replace some of the lengthier write-ups that I have. It's really just a summary and sort of a standardization of what I've written in the past. And it also keeps track of like all the relationships and sort of connecting incidents and events that have happened in the past based on previous campaigns. So that helps me like have a better sense. And then the other thing I did is I created a Google Doc that is just full of random tables. And I can actually now tell it to generate for me a random history book or give me 5 pieces of jewelry, and it will go and use my tables and generate it. It's really cool. The other thing I included in there was the SRD. Since the system reference document for 5.5 or for any like D&D is available for use. Originally, I was just going to include the equipment pages, and then I decided, you know what? I'll give this a shot. See how long it takes them to process. Okay, so we got company here, but we've been busy building our arsenal of arrows. There we go. Two. So much quieter now.
The sun is setting. Gonna get a lot
Yeah, the sun is setting on Wolf Kingdom. There we go. Lights out. Well, there's still some other wolves out there. Good night. Good night, Mr. Wolf. Let's go up the river here so we can find a little bit of coal. Sometimes it shows up here. Oh, and then there's the firewood. We should grab the firewood here. Just in case we need it.
I'm
Yeah.
starving.
Oh, you're getting hungry. Okay. Got firewood. We'll let the wolves freeze up overnight, and then if we want to carve some up, raise our cooking up a little bit more. I did try running some queries on the notebook before I included the SRD to see what it knew already about different weapons or other sort of D&D references. And it's clear that the sort of Google Gemini has been trained on D&D stuff. You know, it says, well, it's not in, it'll say, it's not in your set of documents, but, you know, it looks like you're doing, you know, 5.5, and so this is what we think you want. So.
Come on, little fire. Come on.
Alright, let's boil some water. That's so exciting. Watching water boil in the long dark. The other thing I looked at and then decided it was just way too much work was I looked at some of my generators I had written in JavaScript a few years back, and I was looking at them thinking, oh, I could do this so much better now. And then I looked at how much work it requires, except I don't want to spend the work to do it. Hey, Roller, good to see you. How's your weekend so far? So far, it's Sunday night. I guess it's a... Oh, no. You missed the earlier conversation about using Gemini Notebook, or like that's a Notebook LM. So it's just a restricted... It's private. Your documents that you upload are private to it, and it's not used for training elsewhere. And so it's a good way to create... if you've got a lot of loose documents and you want to build sort of a consolidated knowledge base that you can either, you know, query just for random questions about what was the name of the innkeeper in that one village that was in like 3 campaigns ago, but the current party is now headed in the same direction. I can't remember the name of that thing. And I have, so what I was saying is I have all the session recaps for the very first campaign I ran in this homebrew setting. So that's 72 session recaps. It's a lot of material, and some of them are quite long. And then I have the recaps for at least 2 other campaigns, and then I'm working on kind of recovering the recaps for a few other ones. But then I also realized there were a number of campaigns that we just stopped writing recaps after about 3 sessions. And much to my regret now, because they were fantastic campaigns with lots of world building, and now all I have left are my notes as a DM, but I don't have all the recaps, which would be really rich material to work with. So... a proper closed Pandora's box. The campaign has enough to fill a novel. Yes, the 72 session one was enough for a novel. The one that I actually don't know how many sessions we ran with my first UBC graduate student campaign, but it lasted about 1.5 years, so it might be pretty close. It was probably around 50 or 60 sessions, I think. And so 1.5 years, about 50, 60 sessions. Yeah, that's about right. And that was pretty epic. That was such a fantastic, ending, and, a lot of fun stuff along the way. And I just wish we had a better record of it. So, yeah. I have thought about, and I've looked into, and I'm not certain if I'm going to pull the trigger on this because it would be an added expense, and I'm trying not to add. I always end up spending money on other things that I really probably don't need to spend money on, like more books or another game. But but I was thinking about there are tools out there now that are basically AI transcription for D&D sessions. So you record the audio and then upload it to their system, which does a transcription, but also builds like a wiki or like a mind map or some sort of structured sort of report for you that continues to update with every single session that you upload to it. For me, I don't really need the whole wiki side of it. I'm happy to either use the Notebook LM or to use Obsidian for doing that. I'm fine with that. But I do like the idea of an AI transcription service that is trained on D&D sessions and knows how to exclude like the pregame banter, the rules debate, and the break for snacks type of conversations, and just focus on the actual content of the game. And like to convert that into text, like a text document. I mean, it's cool that it does all this other stuff, but I really just want the transcript, because the transcript then I could feed into, you know, the notebook, and then have the ability to just have more of the world fleshed out there. I will say that my writing is still better than whatever it generates. But in terms of like, if you think of it as not so much like a scribe that it's not a bard, you know, it's a secretary. It's a very good sort of receptionist that can, or personal assistant that listens, takes notes, summarizes everything into a report, gives it to you. And if you ask for different things, it can do that on the fly. It knows where everything is, and it does it right. So, I mean, that part is cool. But will I ask it to write, you know, any sort of critical text that I'm actually going to use in the game? No. But it can identify sort of patterns or connections and things, and suggest like, oh, you know, you might dig further into the history of so-and-so, you know. Yeah, because I'm always putting hooks and threads everywhere in my stories, so I'm like, in my campaign, so I'm like always thinking about it, but it will actually remember those and call them out. So, but yeah, the question is, do I want to spend, you know, $10 or $15 a month for a subscription to do something like that? And I'm not certain I do, you know. At the moment, I have one person in my current campaign who really enjoys making recaps. They are pretty off the wall recaps. They're very different from like a sort of a true sort of objective synopsis of things. It's very much like, I won't even say, well, it's kind of an in character sort of bubbliness to the report, and a little bit exaggerated, well, which is fine, but I'm curious to see what happens when I upload that. Oh, anything that's intended as a joke will definitely end up as canon. That's just how it is. What did you suggest? still well fed. Okay, should we try our luck with foods that will probably food poison us? Of course we should. Better now than later. Yeah, can't get any worse than that.
I feel like I'm gonna die. What a way to die.
You get double food poisoning? No, we can't get double food poisoning. Okay, so we are just going... Oh, we might as well use the actual antibiotics here.
Oh, the stomach. Oh, it hurts. Oh, God, it hurts.
Okay. We'll sleep well tonight. Okay, EG has requested a hydrate. Cheers, EG. I can already tell I'll probably have to restock on water. Thank you for the hydrate. And a big stretch, which is always needed. What would happen if Mackenzie were a sanity-depleted lumberjack? We would get the end of episode 5, I think is what we'd get. Ba-ba, bwok, bwok, bwok.
I would drink just about anything right now.
Yeah, you would. Starting to sound like Will. Oh. Okay, so what are we at for days now? We are day 45. When you have an axe, everything is chicken wings? Yeah. Okay. So we got rid of the cans. That will lighten us for later. It would be rain from an imaginary dog walker. Mm. No, we can't refuel anything. Can we put the scrap metal down? We can fix that. Oh, we don't have the tools. That's what it is. Do have to have the tools. Guard Walker? Blackrock? We are currently in Timberwolf. Honestly, I've never done Timberwolf to Blackrock before. So I would probably mess it up. Not that that should stop us from doing stuff like that, but... Okay. Yeah, should drop this too. The Timbies are usually chilling at the bottom. That does not sound like the type of place we want to go. No. We don't have enough cloth to keep repairing things. It's pretty gusty out here right now. Yeah, yeah. Actually, I don't think we could even snow shelter it up because we don't have enough cloth.
Come on, little fire.
We'd have to tear stuff up, and that would end badly for us. Oops. Dropped too many in there. Oh well. Warm up our teas. Okay. Let's go gather more firewood, just in case. Also see if we can find some bunnies to hunt. Keg stand? No. No, thank you. Next, she'll be telling me to do a black rock keg stand. Got bunnies anywhere? Oh, if I would be up for that. A Black Rock keg stand, no Timbies run. I would do that. I would do a custom no Timbies run. It'd actually be a pretty good way for me to be a little bit more... Yeah, obviously you don't want cougars in a keg stand. Kind of ruins it. Your face eaten off by cougars. Where is everyone? I got no rabbits anywhere that I can see.
up somehow.
Usually the bunnies are somewhere. Very odd. I see we have a few other people in here tonight, so welcome in newcomers and lurkers, as well as old friends. I am Babbaginator, but everyone just calls me Baba because it's easier to pronounce and easier to remember. But Babbaginator comes from Charles Babbage, 19th century mathematician, who designed, partially built, but never finished what would have been the first computer. And I wrote about him as part of my PhD dissertation. I also wrote about him in my second book of poetry, which is indeed the case that I am a published poet with 2 books of poetry and a lot of individual poems.
Starting to feel numb.
I'm currently finishing up work on an opera. Where? It's no bunnies anywhere. So strange. Like they're on vacation or something. Well, snow's coming quick enough.
Do I, if I don't warm up soon?
So we spent some time outside, so we are not running the risk of cabin fever. Let's go inside, warm up for a little bit, and then if the snow lets up, we might go and do something else out there. Otherwise, we'll just take it easy inside. Enough. Not gonna worry about it. Right, do we need more water? Yeah, maybe we'll boil some more water. All those sticks. And easy come, easy go. We went from 5 people to 3. Oh well. Lurkers and berserkers. I think what else is new? I think I've mentioned before, I've got an application in for one position that would take me back to the West Coast, but has some stiff competition from what is rumored to be a candidate who is as close to an internal candidate as you can get. Basically, from the gist of what no one's come out and said the specifics because legally and professionally they can't. but it has been hinted by someone who is familiar but not part of the search committee that there is a candidate who is a former employee of that particular library, and previously did this job and then left and has now returned hoping to pick up the job again, but still has to be hired through an external hire process. So my competition is basically someone who previously held the job. That's really hard to beat. But depending on how long they've been away and whether or not they were exceptional at their job, it might still be possible to outperform them in the interview process. And to demonstrate that, look, you got someone that was, I would say, hey, I'm certain you've had people that were adequate before, but I'm phenomenal. No, not like that. But you just demonstrate that, like, they're getting a lot more. And maybe even getting some skills that they want and they hadn't really had access to in the past. So, we'll see. But in the meantime, there's another position that just opened up. That is a 1-year position. It would still be here in Toronto. It is not as technical as my current job. Which means that in some ways it'd be a little bit easier and a little bit more traditional. But in other ways, it's more challenging because it will be more competitive. There's going to be more competition because it is not as restrictive in terms of skill set. So I would still be an internal candidate in the sense that I'm applying while still employed at the same university, but it's also possible that they find someone, it might be easier to find someone that they're looking for. So we'll see how that all works out. What does it look like out there? Still raining. Not raining, still snowing. It was raining here. Snowing out there. Yeah, didn't want to be out there. E.g., excellent point. I shouldn't be, I don't want cougars because I'm trying to survive alone. Yeah. Actually, at my age, if someone were considered a cougar to me, then they would definitely be too old for me. I was like, yeah. I'm not looking to date anyone in their 70s. No, that's middle of the day snowstorm. That's no fun. No, that's my job, to look immortal and never age. Kind of cool if there were two of us that never aged. Or never grew up, as the case may be. One of those. So my current Thursday night campaign, one of the running jokes is that we make so many references to songs, like the contemporary music, that one of the players has been tracking them all and building a playlist. It happened once or twice by accident, and then after a while, it was just, we lean into it. We look for the opportunity to work in a reference to a song. Ooh. Hey, we are currently on day 46. So we actually switch over about like 11 a.m. So we are in 46. We have 2 days left. Is Barbarian is a knockoff of Conan? I mean, what kind of name does he have? I mean, I like from Terry Pratchett's Discworld series, there was Cohen, the Barbarian, and the Silver Horde, and they were all elderly, like, barbarians. Oh, is it? Is it rude and lewd? I don't know if I told you guys about my epiphany the other day to build a character that is a Kenku bard, the 5th edition Kenku bard, whose name is Cawd, CAWD, GPT, Cawd GPT, and Cod only communicates in unattributed quotes from other people and mashes together everything and then kind of spits it out. And then always numbers everything that he gives back to people. Well, first, you could do this. Second, you could do this. Third, you could do this. I thought, if I ever run this character, the other party members will kill him off so quickly. It's like that it feels like it's up there with the other very, very ill-fated, almost protest character who I knew would be killed off quickly by the party or the DM was The Rock. Yeah. We try to class it up a little bit, right? But yeah, COD GPT. I was kind of proud of it, but also it's bad. That just looks bad, doesn't it? Really bad. Okay, circling back to Lumberjack Mackenzie. Foxhead Chop McCleaver. Oh, okay. McCleaver. I like McCleaver better because then you can say things like, leave it to McCleaver.
I could eat anything.
If you don't believe it, McCleave it. That's how you dispel illusions, right? Oh. I think we'll just let it go out. Build up a nice stockpile of water, so we're good for now. So my Thursday night group is meeting early this coming week. We're having a game tomorrow night, Monday night, and I have not decided yet what they're doing. It sounds like they want to go to the region that has access to the Fey Realm. And I was like, why are they trying to do this so early? But one of the characters wants to meet their Fey patron, their Warlock Fey patron. So we'll have to figure out how to make that work by tomorrow. Oh, of course it's going to cost them, right? Oh, perfect. The wind just died down just in time for us to go to sleep. We're not very tired, though. Actually, do we have any... Maybe we should check and see if we have any... Oh, that backfired. That's not what I wanted to do. Oh, well. Oh, well. We'll just go to bed. Okay, we're going to take a short break so I can go refill my water. Back in a sec. Okay, back. Short walk to the fridge. Okay, some short campaign you watched 8 years ago. Party went into Feywild for a week, came back when the request failed. I'm fully expecting, Party goes into the Feywild and comes back to find that they are, it's like the standard is that they come back and they discover that like 20 years or 100 years has gone by, while they were gone. I'm half tempted to have them come back and they are returned to the wrong world. Yeah. And so that's another way to do it, is just throw them into a pair. Like, I mean, I did that with one of the other Epic campaigns I ran. Epic, not so much in terms of level, but in terms of like where they ended up. And that one ended up roughly about this level. I think they're level 6 right now. They ended up going through a magical rift and ended up in a parallel world. They did not realize what they'd actually traveled to wasn't a parallel world. It was their world in the future. Was it their world of the future or their world? I think it must have been in the future. And so, so there's remnants, very like where everything was lush and green, everything is now it's a eldritch western setting, western dystopia. So it's like wastelands, and it is sort of grim eldritch creatures roaming the wastelands. The gods have been cut off from the world by the invasion of these elder gods who have taken over and are battling for power, control over the world. And so the party is like, they need to break the configuration of towers that has blocked. So there's a configuration of arcane towers and circles that are powering this blockade of between the world, the Earth world realm, and the gods beyond. And so these eldritch gods have taken over in this space, and so if you can break one of the towers, then you can set off a weakness, a crack in the realms, so that you can have the gods begin to return their power to the world. But right now, everyone is kind of captive to these dark eldritch powers. And so they end up in this realm, and they're like trying to figure out how they're going to get themselves back. And they end up defeating one of these elder gods, or these eldritch beings, and in the tower, and then are able to return. But along the way, they've discovered that one of the party members they picked up in the new world was actually someone who had come from their world previously. And so there's like all this other history there, and then there was like some other things. Well, anyways, they come to realize that they really had not traveled far in space and time. They really just traveled in time, and then came back to their original world. And at the same time, it leaves them thinking at some point in the future, someone's going to have to battle these eldritch beings, or prevent, like set up some precautions to prevent this from happening. So we never got to that later stage of what they would do next post like level 12. But that's kind of what it was set up to do. I just don't really enjoy running anything past level 12. And at that point, most of us were graduating, so there just had to be a logical end to the campaign, which it felt really good. Actually, no, we ended that one, and then we started another campaign, and that one we wrapped up just in time for graduation. So, there are a lot of times that I think maybe this was the funniest thing. So I was in this my Saturday group where I'm a player, not the DM. There was someone in my group that he likes saying things in a way that uh, ends up feeling dramatic, and so he was saying, my time as a Fed is coming to a close. I said, what? I says, he showed us his badge. He worked for, he was interning at a federal agency, and so it's his federal badge, and it's coming to a close. But I said, I didn't realize that you were part of CSIS, like the Canadian Secret Service, and it infiltrated. Your task was to infiltrate every single D&D group and look for subversive that were planning to overthrow the world using the cover of a D&D conversation to plot, major crimes. And then I said, I think I actually would like that job, where my job was to infiltrate all sorts of D&D groups and play with them for extended periods of time as an embedded agent. And yeah. What happens if someone stops your party before you can go to the future? Or back to the... Are you talking about if you get stopped in the Fey realm, or if you get stuck in the parallel dimension where you're in the future, and if you get stopped, then then it creates a different type of paradox. Yeah. That's what I was worried about, cabin fever risk. Okay. Okay, we are on 46, almost 47. Our 3 liters here. Let's make certain we take our stuff with us. 47. We are still leaving on day 48, so we got basically maybe 32 hours before we leave. Look at all the snow. Should have lots of new sticks, though. Already did this last time.
My fingers feel numb. It's a goddamn freezing. Can you eat trees?
I guess we could go out to the hut. No, this is what we wanted. Okay, we'll go ahead and light our torch here. We'll get a little bit of extra heat going. Okay. I just realized that since I've already had some success with loading in random tables into the notebook, which is like loop tables and some description tables, I could probably load in some of my naming tables as well. And test and see how that would work. So what I do is like I'll have the tables, but I also have a little couple lines before the table that explain how to use the table. And so that way when the AI parses it, it's also interpreting the rule set for how to use that table. Understands the logic behind it. Let's not lose our well fed here. I'm wondering if we should try fishing. If we try fishing, we'd have to turn one of our guts into line. How are we doing for our fuel here? 28. It's doable. What else do we have here? Any other? Nothing else. We'll think about whether we want to do fishing.
It's too cold to think.
We could also, where are we in our cooking abilities here? Cooking. We could cook up those wolves. 3 wolves all clustered together. That would actually, maybe that's a good use of time. I don't know if it'll take us that close to level 5, but we can try. Get more feathers too. I think at least initially we're going to focus on these guys. We'll have to gather some more sticks for the other guy. But this will probably keep us pretty busy. Help us with our cabin feeder. Do some productive work out here. Okay, so we want to add in. Two, so we need at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. So tomorrow is going to be a long day. Like I said, I have D&D in the evening, but before I can get to the fun stuff, I have a researcher who's requested my assistance and originally wanted 7 hours of my time. I was like, no. I can give you two 2-hour blocks, but I can't give you 7 hours. It's just... I think they're feeling pretty overwhelmed about some Python work they're supposed to do as part of their research and the integration with the AI API.
Never been so hungry in my life.
And I mean, that's totally fine, but I think it's also helping them realize, like, look, I'm there to be a help, but I cannot be a full-time instructor for you. That's not how it works. I was like, no one wants to do a 7-hour Zoom call. No, that's not happening. But depending on what he needs, it might be a perfect opportunity for me to test run a Python workshop that I have been working on. But we have like existing Python, intro to Python for absolute beginner workshops. But one of the problems I'm noticing is that there seems to be a little bit of a disconnect between the workshop and how people what they're actually looking for when they come to the workshop. I think it's good to cover the basics and the foundational terms and definitions, but I also think that we end up spending too much time covering things that they could just look up on a have sort of a read along guide, some sort of thing they do on their own time, or they can reference it, side by side to us doing the actual work. So I redesigned the workshop around, like, I used a number of examples. So we teach the concepts. In this case, we teach the concepts by starting with an example of code and then explaining what's happening in each part of the code. It's like this is a variable, and this equal sign is an operator, an assignment operator, and this thing on the other side is a value, and the whole thing's called an expression, right? So, but moving past that into the territory of like, what's a real world thing that you would actually want to do? And so a lot of that is like, I start off with the example of like, let's say you want to calculate population densities for all the provinces and territories in Canada. And so I use that as a way to give them like a list of province names, province and territory names, a list of populations, a list of let's say 40, 15. So I give them sort of all the ingredients, so I teach them what a list is, and then after that, I say like, well, why are we having 3 separate lists? What if we treated each province as a record? Create a record for each one as this thing called the dictionary. And so we do that, and then so then they're all records, and then I say like, well, now that they're records, wouldn't it be nicer if we just held them as a list of records? And then from there, we can move on to like, well, it's kind of tedious to have them all typed out like this inside the code. What if we have multiple years worth of these records of populations and sort of, you know, area size of each province? We could go instead pull them from separate files for every year. And, you know, so then I kind of teach them how to, you know, work with files and data frames. So it just seems like if we work through a series of tasks that are reflective of a simpler version of the type of work that someone might do working with numbers, you know, as a researcher, then it is more likely that they're going to see the relevance and be able to apply it, you know, quickly. The other way to do it is to teach them how to build a computer game, like a, you know, text adventure game of some sort. But that's not going to apply so well to what they actually do. It would be cool, but it's not really applicable to most of the research that the researchers are doing. They want to know how to work with tabular data, you know, things in spreadsheet or, you know, other forms that reflect the, you know, what data looks like to them in their field. So yeah, I'm just looking for everyday applications. So that's for numeric and tabular data, and then I'm working on a separate workshop that will be all about working with text data, and some other sort of advanced techniques with working with text. And again, trying to find examples drawn from real world scenarios. So I think that depending on where he's at in his Python, if he's feeling overwhelmed about Python, and that's what I'm doing, then yes, he becomes a guinea pig. If it turns out he's actually already pretty capable and it is something very, very specific, then, I mean, that's cool, but it's going to be more of a headache. And my big concern is that it's going to turn out to be something that is actually goes beyond what I'm trained to do. In which case I'll have to tell them, like, you know what, I get the gist of what's going on here. I can teach you how to puzzle your way through this. But at the end of the day, this is kind of a, you know, field-specific skill set, or you're going to have to find someone who's better trained in that particular thing. So I don't think it's going to be something like, we need you to build, you know, a backend for an entire system in Python. It's like, no. I learn languages quickly, but I have not had the opportunity to build anything quite that sophisticated. So I would not be able to walk you through that process. Or we need to write our own AI. Not use the API. We have to write our own. It's like, no. yeah, I can't, you know, like if they were in computer science, which they're not, you know, then I'd be basically telling them, I can't do your job. Your job as a student is to learn, and my job is to connect you with resources, but it's not to do the learning for you. And yes, I appreciate that you feel really underprepared for this particular task. It's unfortunate, but you can hire someone to be your personal mentor, but you can't expect a librarian to drop everything and just become your personal mentor. So. Okay, so how many wolves does it take? Do we build something with 3 hides, or do we need 4? I think we need 4. We've got 2 hours left on this thing. We go over here. And we'll do the thing where we drink the tea and then come over and harvest. Yeah, I mean, it's, they died from wood poisoning. They choked on an arrow. Well, actually, they had unauthorized brain surgery. I probed them, and they died from the probing. Something like that. Okay, let's see here.
This pack is getting kind of heavy.
17, 14. Yep. Where are we using the knife? Should be using the hacksaw. Oh yeah, we need to add in our wolves. Thanks for the reminder. Forgot they haven't increased our tally yet. Oops. Or do another one. Okay, before we do that, let's quickly check what the count is currently in terms of dead wolves. We have 5 dead wolves, actually. We're way behind on this. Okay, so we've been busier than I thought. And let's see. What else have we killed? 5 wolves, 3 ptarmigan. No rabbits yet. Uh-oh.
I wonder if I can drop any of this gear.
Nope, now we're getting cold. Have our other teeth.
I'm not sure I can carry much more.
Okay. 27, 25. Let's try to get this thing harvested. Need to eat more meat, or food at least. Oh, there comes the wind. See how are we doing for cooking? We made some progress. Move the needle.
This pack is getting kind of heavy.
40.
Can you eat trees? Because I'm gonna.
Okay. Oh, we forgot to add more meat in there. Okay, we're gonna go over there. Juiced up on our hot tea and try to finish this before we take any damage. There we go. All done. And then these are done. Okay. Where are we at? We've got 3 wolf hides. And a ton of meat.
Feels like night is coming.
Okay. Let's take all this stuff with us. $44. Run over here, drop it off at the Mountaineers. Should be what? We're still. Oh, I can't believe we still need to spend more time outside. Okay, so we're going to drop all our meat here.
Jesus, this is cold.
It's not that cold. There we go. Let's rush back, warm up, head back. Oh.
Oh, so cold. I wonder if I can drop any of this gear.
Do we want the fat for anything? I don't think so. It's all unnecessary. Man, it's just not dropping that much.
It's so cold. I just want to lay down for a bit.
We might have to sleep inside and get cabin fever. Don't love it, but
I could eat a horse. Let's stand a lot because I love horses.
we could go outside. We could chop up some firewood. That would be another way to use up a little bit more time. Okay. Keep 2 pieces here. Yeah, we don't have a lot of firewood.
Come on, little fire.
Okay. It went up, and that's lame. Okay. Should we try our luck? Okay, we are officially on day 47, almost 48. When it gets to, so I think we'll probably just pick this up next time. Next stream, we will leave Timberwolf Mountain. Wow, we are actually cold. That's a problem. I don't know if you guys remember my little trick for how to get out of this type of situation. If you do not have the physical warmth to sleep, like more than, like if you're worried that you won't be able to sleep an hour without freezing, then you can warm up some teas, drink the tea. The tea will keep you warm, even if your clothes are not warm enough. And just every few hours you get up and make a tea. Every hour you make a tea. I survived like a blizzard night like this in Timberwolf Mountain at the start of a run, doing exactly that. I had found tea and then I used it to keep myself alive, even though I had no way to keep warm. Now we're officially out of firewood, so now we got a new problem. Will it work? It works. But now we're out of firewood. We got the books, we could do that. We made it. We made it. Woohoo! We made it. Despite running out of firewood, we made it. Okay, so I think we're on the verge of 48. I think when we're like just, if we get another hour in, we'll be at 48. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that. I'm going to grab my stuff. Make certain I have all my stuff. Make certain we've got water. We are underweight right now, which is fine. We are risk of parasites 1%. Still 47%. Okay, anything we want to drop at this point? No, drop that. 33, we are going to be fine. Okay. We're going to mark the end of tonight's stream here. "48 days, we officially leave. Next stream. Ash Canyon, here we come. Okay. So, before we head out then, let us read a poem, and then we will go. What are we feeling like tonight? Letter 17. Let's do a letter poem. It's been a while. I don't know. I feel like I need to write some new ones. I feel like we read these ones too often. I'll pick a different letter poem. Maybe something else. What's an appropriate thing to read? I really need to send out, I need to buckle down and send out some of these poems that have been sitting around not published because I haven't got around. I've done all the editing. I think I'm at the point where I'm happy with them. I really need to send them out, and I haven't really done anything. So, yeah. Okay, it's been a long time since I read this. This is from my first book from Lost Country of Sight. This is called The Mortician's Bookkeeper. You arrive early to work, clothed in a careful black which you peel off layer by layer, till white-sleeved and tieless you descend into the stacks, crunch numbers until the sun slips out through the back door. When things are slow, you too might slip into a crowd of strangers, fill an otherwise empty room, or watch a casket burn in the brick oven. Sometimes you help the dead dress, comb back a loose hair, close an eye, add color to their drying lips. Some are so light you could lift them with a hand placed under the neck, another arm stretched out to gather the body at the knees, and walk like a mother with a sleepless child in a slow circle by the window light, or the way a man with calloused hands might carry his new bride up a long, dark flight of stairs. One of the things, I've talked about this poem before, but I think one of the things I loved about this poem when I was writing it was how the closing of the poem was something that came to me as I was writing. I did not see it coming. I just kept following, like I'd write something and follow where it would take me. And so I wrote down, some are so light you could lift them with a hand placed under the neck. And then immediately I thought, well, what does that look like? If you place one under the neck, then your other arm is underneath, gathering them in, at the knees. And then it's almost as if you're carrying a child at that point. And then, or maybe it's more like a man carrying his bride up the stairs across the threshold. And so it's this transformative moment in which this act of tenderness is translated into these other familiar scenes at other sort of threshold moments of our lives. Whether you're a parent with a sleepless child trying to sing a lullaby and put them to sleep, or you're trying to carry a bride across the threshold. um, and then this ascent up the long dark flight of stairs is just that, I think, the epitome of like our ascent into something we don't know where it's going. And that is sort of the way in which when we let go of people after they pass on, we also have that moment of not knowing for certain where we and they are headed next. So so anyways, that's from The Lost Country of Sight, published in 2008 by Anhinga Press, winner of the Philip Levine Prize. As always, delight to share poetry with you. Something from a friend. I could always throw one of those in there too. I'll remember that as like we can keep some options open for next time. I have a big stack of poetry books at my side. I've been reading a lot of poetry over the last couple months. And so I probably should set aside a few examples out of there that I might read. So that's good for next time. Let's see where people are at, and we will figure out who we can go raid. And I'm gonna get some sleep tonight. Let's see. Oh, looks like Tina's wrapping up soon. UC Gaming. Yeah. Well, we'll take a quick listen to see where Tina's at, right? Okay. Okay. I think we can drop in on Tina, even though I think Tina's getting ready to wrap up. But it's kind of serious talk, but I think. Okay. Yeah, take care all. Good night.